of our special select board meeting of Tuesday, December 29th to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any requested changes, additions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as drafted, signify with a thumbs up. All right, unanimous. Citizen comments. Chris, is there anybody there that would have anything with a hand raised?
No one in the audience currently, Brian.
Okay. First item then is to consider options for renewing the town's 25-year lease with Addison County School District for Recreation Park expiring December 31st, 2020, including signing a long-term renewal with minor amendments or proposing a one-year extension in order to renegotiate terms and conditions. And there was in our packet an email exchange between Kathleen, Nick, and our council. There's also the lease renewal that we had looked at previously in the meeting. So I'm going to open it up for board deliberation. And I guess I would say to kick it off, Nick, if you could just tell the rest of the board, make sure the board understands what your opinion was and why.
Sure, Brian. Okay, well, it's interesting when I look now at the turnover we've had in the board since the building project. And so, I mean, really those of us who were in the trenches were Kathleen and myself, along with Victor and Dean, and there was a period before the building construction started of obviously design, but a lot of design was largely completed to put the recreation center over by Mary Hogan. It would have been in a general location where the current tennis courts are. And moving along, it turns out that one of the things that had to happen, and this goes way back, there was I don't remember the exact name, but it was something to the effect of the Middlebury Elementary School Association or something to that effect actually owned the land, and that the town leased the land on a 25-year window from them. And so therefore, in order to construct the building, we had to obtain permission from the school board. And there was a lot of enthusiasm for putting it over there. The school administration was for it. The teachers were for it. Parents were really excited about it. Seemed fine. And then we ran into some obstructions that would have actually would have pushed the project probably between $350,000 and $350,000 over what we had for budgeted. We were against a tight deadline because we had to get the design and construction underway. Otherwise, we would have missed the construction season and potentially we would have not had our nice new town office and recreation building. There was a lot of negotiation to try to get this thing moving forward, and it didn't happen. We thought the project, well, a lot of us were quite afraid it was going to come to a termination. And that's when the high school board stepped in and offered the current location as an alternative. The architects were able to essentially take that building that now sits there, that was supposed to be over by Mary Hogan, and put it on the present site. There was a vote that had to happen by the high school board for it. And I remember going over there with Dean and Kathleen, and we were just overwhelmed at how many people had showed up for that in support of it. And so we ultimately, they saved the day. Now, it's one of those things I would have never really thought much about, but it is kind of a unique arrangement with this in the state. And Betty Novo at the time was a state rep, and she had looked into it and said how unusual it was and that there were some ways to potentially change it. Well, anyway, here we are at the lease renewal time. And so as I still have deep remembrance of the incident back then, when I looked at it, I think I was looking at it from a different light than probably all the rest of you were, because just of timing. And it struck me that maybe before we enter into another 25-year lease agreement, we should decide if it's in the best interest of the town, especially in light of the fact that, back then it was essentially the taxpayers of Middlebury owned the land, whether it was operated by the school or operated by the town, but that's not solely the case now. And so before entering into it, this type of agreement, I think we need to look at it in greater detail, especially since we're the ones responsible for maintaining the grounds, the buildings, carrying the liability coverage for everything that's not school related. And yet if we have to have some sort of major capital improvement, of which I don't know what that would be, but there's a 25-year window, that I would hate to recreate that same scenario again. And so that's why I raised this issue to Kathleen, and she passed it on to council, who admittedly said it's a big issue, and that probably the best thing to do would be to look for a 1-year extension, at which point we could sit down with the current school board, who I think is very pragmatic and very objective, and see if this is the best arrangement for, well, certainly from my perspective for the town, but also it's good for the school. So that's where the conversation came, and that's why I concur with Benja's suggestion for a 1-year extension while we then go into some negotiation.
Heather?
So I'm fine with doing a 1-year lease if the school board is willing. I'm also fine with extending the lease for 25 years as is. The school owns the property, and as the owner of the property, I think they have the right to decide what gets built there. It's not town-owned land. We have a lease. You know, if you're a property owner and you lease something to someone, you don't let them do something on your property without talking to them first. So I kind of think what Nick is suggesting is that we consider purchasing the property from the school, and then we'd have say on what happened on that property. And that's fine with me too. But I think it's a little unreasonable to ask the school to lease the property and have the right to put anything we want on it. I don't think that's a typical leasor arrangement. But anyway, I think Nick makes a good point. It's probably worth some additional conversation. So I would support the 1 year, and, you know, let's do some more work on what options we have with the school going forward.
Farhad?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Do you know how the school board feels about having a short-term lease?
I think we
Has anybody
do.
reached out to them or no?
I don't think, no, I would imagine we don't. I mean, I think this is just one of those things that came up, and, you know, it's sort of just the timing flowed into the present moment, and there hasn't really been any good discussion or dialogue about it. And quite honestly, it wouldn't have crossed my mind until the lease renewal came up. I didn't realize it was that close to, well, maybe it actually was pretty far, but from what I remember, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, we were in the building project. But no, I mean, that's all part of discussion. And it certainly would be a situation of, you know, we fully know and expect that this will be you know, things will essentially be the same as far as the way the school uses the property and the like. I think it's just to make sure that we don't run into any unreasonable binds for things that may need to be done on these buildings, especially since, you know, it's critical to not just the school, but the whole community.
So I support the 1 year option at this moment, because I want our town council's opinion further on this about what we are getting. 25 years is a long time. If we sign something, then we're stuck with it. So I agree with you. We should take a good look at this and have a negotiation, I think.
Kathleen, did you get any sense, has this percolated to the school board, and has anything come back through Benj?
Yeah, it has not percolated to the school board yet. Benj has been in contact with Eben, but this came up right at the start of the holidays, the 1 year possibility. And so there hasn't been a lot of communication between councils on this.
Any other thoughts? Laura?
I don't have more to say than what has already been said, but I do know that this is prime, this area, this rec park area for development, further development.
Can't hear you at all, Laura.
You can't hear me?
Can't hear you at all.
Oh, okay.
Laura, I can tell you're talking, but I'm having a hard time hearing what you're saying.
I can hear you, but only just.
Okay. Well, I might have to come out and come back in. So just don't worry.
Okay. You know, I don't think it's unreasonable just to say that it crept up on us very quickly and with everything else that we had going on, it's not that, I think we just are asking for a 1-year period to do more due diligence, and I would expect them to go along with it. We could bring it up again at the next meeting if they push back, but I think if the board is willing to go that way, I think the rationale is that it's a long period. We've, had a couple bumps, but basically it's worked well overall. But before we extend for another 25 years, we just want to have our rec committee really look thoroughly at it and make sure that it's exactly what we want and that we both can live with it for another 25 years. Does that sound reasonable?
I agree.
Well, and that was the objective really of my correspondence with Kathleen that got out. I mean, it was hardly one of those things I would have chosen for this time of year. It's just when it came due, and I was thinking about it, and it suddenly raised a lot of red flags for me. So I said, well, again, let's call it experience in the trenches. I wouldn't expect a similar scenario again in the future, but I want to make sure for 25 years we are going to have something that's mutually beneficial. And so with that, I move to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to work with Town Council toward executing a 1-year extension of the lease agreement with the Addison County Supervisory District for Recreation Park, which expires on December 31, 2020.
Second.
Any other comments or questions on that before we vote? Okay, all in favor of the motion signify with a thumbs up. Okay. And Kathleen, again, just tell them we're just looking to make sure that we've done our due diligence, and it just slipped by all of us with everything that's going on. I've got to believe it is a good board, and I got to believe they'll be fine with that.
I think we're all going forward in good faith.
Okay. Heather, check warrants.
So I have reviewed the warrants today, and by the authority of the Select Board granted on April 28th, 2020, I have reviewed and approved total expenditures of $374,577.51, consisting of $275,516.84 for accounts payable and $99,060.67 for payroll for the period of December 16th, 2020 through December 29th, 2020. And I move the board's approval of payment of these expenditures.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify with a thumbs up. Okay. Board member concerns. Farhad.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay. Happy New Year to you too, Farhad. A better one.
Thank you.
Dan.
I second all that. Yes, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks. And it's been fun serving for the last 9 months, and I look forward to the next 3 months of this and continuing. Thank you.
Lindsay.
I was just going to remind everyone that it's the last couple days to get a mid-nib bar if you were wanting to be in for the raffle. I think they're drawing it on the 31st. So
So how does that work? They post it online and you get a certain amount of time to do it?
That's my guess. I'm guessing they'll post it and give people time to
Yeah,
come forward. I got one in my stocking and promptly lost the little ticket, so
Oh, you
I'm
lost
hoping it'll show up.
I bought 40 of the bars and haven't finished eating them yet, so I just wondering how long it's good.
I sold a bunch at my store.
Yeah, I got
Oh,
a
good.
getting mine out, so.
Yeah, you better pull out your little ticket and check it.
Laura? Nick?
Well, I'll continue that on, and here's to a 2021 that is much, much better than 2020. Looking forward to getting back to personal meetings and handshakes with friends and family and hugs, and just thank you for all the scientists of 2020 and what they've done. And it's going to be a good year, I trust. Be well all.
Well, thank everybody for all of the production we were able to put out. And pretty amazing what everybody, including especially our town staff, was able to get done in 2020 with the roadblocks that were put in front of everyone. And so Kathleen, thank you for keeping us on target and keeping us moving forward in 2020. And I can't wait to get to 2021. I couldn't have thought of a worse year than 2020 for me personally. So,
Yeah, that's for sure. For you, yes. Yep.
so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Moved. Second.
Moving second, all in favor? Heather, get skating.
I will. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody.
New Year,
Thanks.
everyone.
Stay well.
Have a good
Bye.
night.